This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba for another technical diving tips, techniques, and trips video. In video 108, selecting a technical diving instructor, I briefly discussed the importance of determining if your instructor is a DIR or non-DIR type instructor. In this video, I'd like to go into more detail on this particular subject for new technical divers who may not know the difference. When I signed up for my first technical diving course, I was instructed to get a copy of this book and become familiar with the contents. Even though this was a PADI Tech 40 course and I was not familiar with the idea of DIR diving, I was soon about to become very familiar with the concepts, as the instructor was not only a PADI technical diving instructor but also a GUE instructor. Let's begin with the Wikipedia definition of DIR, doing it right. And in this definition, there are some very important concepts about fundamental diving skills, teamwork, and minimalistic equipment configurations. This does specifically include standardizing the equipment configuration and also the team procedures for preventing and dealing with emergencies. There is also the issue of physical fitness and also some lifestyle conduct. At one point, one of the DIR-based certification agencies specifically addressed the issue of smoking and diving. In contrast to what you might hear, non-DIR diving is not the opposite of DIR diving. It does, however, allow for more flexibility, particularly in the standardized equipment configuration, and some slight variations in the diving skills. What this means is a true DIR diver would not adopt non-DIR practices. However, a non-DIR diver can adopt DIR practices. So let's talk about in more detail some of the differences between DIR and non-DIR diving. This is a typical DIR-based harness system and plate, and this system is constructed of one continuous piece of 2-inch webbing that is woven through the various slots on the plate. So what this means is that the adjustability in this system is limited in comparison to a non-DIR rig, which might have a releasable and adjustable buckle on the shoulder straps. Alright, from the top here, the DIR rig will typically have 2 D-rings on either shoulder straps, and it will not have a chest strap like this. Non-DIR rigs might have a chest strap like that to assist in the fitting of the harness. Going further down, you have the one-piece webbing woven through the slots in the plate, and you have a single metal buckle here to attach the plate to the waist strap to the user, to the diver. There's also a crotch strap. The crotch strap, by design, cannot actually be part of the 2-inch one-piece webbing, so it is typically a separate piece of webbing. This particular webbing is a little bit softer than the normal harness webbing, which is fairly stiff, and it's made out of a different webbing for comfort purposes. There is typically what is called a scooter ring here on the plated wing. There is one D-ring here on the left-hand side for various accessories carrying decompression bottles and so on. But typically on a DIR rig, there's not one on the right-hand side, because you're not supposed to carry anything on the right-hand side, because that may interfere with the carrying of or the utilization of the scooter. So this is the one-piece harness DIR rig that is we are using to illustrate the minimalistic equipment configuration that is embraced by DIR concepts. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have this very non-DIR harness, and this harness is actually an adaptation from a typical recreational rig. So you'll notice that it has shoulder straps, in fact padded shoulder straps, just like on a recreational BCD. It has D-rings, 4 D-rings on it, and it also has a chest strap. Okay, again, another non-DIR type thing. And there are as well releasable and adjustable buckles on both sides. For our waist belt, we still have a waist belt here, but we have a crotch strap with a scooter ring that is also releasable and adjustable. So this rig is very non-DIR and is actually somewhat similar to a regular recreational rig. Here is an example of a DIR wing. Noticeably absent from this particular wing is the redundant bladder, which would be positioned here and up here. DIR philosophy dictates that redundant bladder BCDs not be used in favor of the balanced rig concept, which is actually a good idea regardless of whether you practice DIR or non-DIR philosophies. With this particular buoyancy wing, the DIR diver might also remove the bungees on the outside of the wing, and they might also remove the toggle from the kidney dump on the left side. This is to prevent the toggle from being trapped underneath anything. This is a non-DIR wing, which has a redundant bladder feeding in through here with the dump valve here. This rig is also non-DIR due to the fact that a utility pouch is mounted on the waist belt. DIR and non-DIR technical diving regulator rigs are very similar in nature. You're going to have the right post with the 7-foot hose and your inflator, and then on the left side, on the left post, you'll have your necklace regulator, and you'll also have a pressure gauge. The difference between DIR and non-DIR configurations primarily have to do with the minimization of the number of O-rings in the configuration of the regulator sets. If you use a transmitter like this, this will have, depending upon how you count it, either 2 or 3 additional O-rings. And if you use a swivel, for example, on the necklace regulator, you will have at least 1 additional O-ring. So with the DIR philosophy, you want to minimize the possibility of failure points, and so the DIR philosophy would support the non-use of a transmitter with the additional O-rings here, and also a swivel with the additional O-ring at the joint. One of the primary differences between DIR and non-DIR diving skills involves the valve shutdown skill. In DIR diving, the diver first shuts down the valve they're breathing off of and continues breathing off of that regulator until it locks up from having no gas in the system. At that point, the diver then switches to the other regulator. In this case, that is the necklace regulator. Next, the diver will open the closed valve. In contrast, the non-DIR diver will immediately switch to the other regulator with the open valve. After the switch is complete, the diver will then close off the valve that they had been previously breathing off of. The diver will then immediately reopen the closed valve. So with the non-DIR version of the valve drill, the diver never breathes against a closed valve. I am not describing the entire valve drill in this video, including what to do with the isolator and the left post, but rather I am describing the major difference between the two approaches. Some new technical divers may be unsettled by the fact that you're breathing against a closed valve. The only other time some new technical divers may have experienced that was during their open water course in confined water. DIR diving emphasizes the concept of the dive team. However, this does not mean that non-DIR diving does not include significant diving team interaction. For example, all certification agencies require the checking of teammates during gas switches. So those are some of the major differences between DIR and non-DIR diving. I'm sure there are many others, but that's it for this video. As always, I hope this video was educational, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe.